It's the cars. It's music. We've got to have the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics come arrest us. Listen to that music. It's horrible. All right, let's get serious. The crew tried to tell me about this a few weeks ago, and I didn't really pay attention because it was so silly. But the point they were making was important, that, hey, they're trying to push a new thing to outlaw music. And they go and use clips of kids joking around on the internet, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now the media hypes that this is a hardcore drug and puts it out there, and then the kids make more videos joking about it, and then the media and the police actually believe it. But let's talk about something that's real. Back in the 1940s, this has, of course, been released back at the time, they would flash the image of a desert up during the movies with an image of a Coca-Cola, an ice-cold Coca-Cola dripping condensation with water droplets on the outside of the bottle. And they found a doubling or more of people rushing out and buying Coca-Cola in the middle of the movie. Because when it's up there for just a millisecond, the subconscious mind fully accepts it, but the conscious mind cannot monitor it and understand what it's seen. And so that's why they'll have, all these flashing images on television. That's why they will up the volume during commercials. Shopping malls nationwide, it's been admitted for more than 20 years, do have subliminal, relaxing music playing in the background. And you can't really call it mind control. Casinos have been caught doing this. It's just a way to set the atmosphere. I mean, is it mind control when you go to a nice hotel and they have a bouquet of flowers that you can smell and the wood tables are all polished and there's marble floors and ornate paintings on the walls? Is that a drug? When you go and see a beautiful vista like the Grand Canyon, is that a drug? When you go to the seashore and see a sunrise, is that a drug? No. We know what beauty is. We know what is good. When I'm driving through the countryside and I see beautiful little farms and rows of corn and wheat and a farmer on a red tractor, it just makes you feel good to see humans involved in agriculture. I mean, are goats under mind control when they look across a valley and see green fields and they happily shake their tails and go down the hill and up the mountain to eat the grass? No, the grass looks good to them because their brain knows what is good. But when you go into a depressed neighborhood with crackheads and unhappy people and rundown houses and paint peeling off walls and poor children playing in mud puddles with scraggly clothes, you feel bad. It's not a drug. So they're literally trying to say, don't get sunlight. It's a conspiracy theory, it's good for you. When it's admitted, it's what you need. Or you'll get cancer and become depressed and get MS and so many other issues. They know this. Now they're trying to move to even send CPS after parents that let their kids get a suntan. All of this is happening. Meanwhile, they're putting sodium fluoride in the water that attacks every organ, reduces fertility or causes full sterilization, attacks all organs, more than doubles bone cancer in men and women, more than quadruples in young boys. They are wanting to put lithium, a toxic metal, in the water to perfect you so you're more passive. They want you to watch more television. And there are literally scores of studies. Here's one, BBC from 2001. Just type in Alzheimer's television. It's both the sedentary lifestyle and that it puts you into a sleep state, and the average adult watches more than 4.5 hours of television a day. More than 4.5 hours of television a day. The youth are watching upwards of 8 hours when you combine video games, and video games are even worse. For some reason, the concentration while you're in the lower brainwave state associated with sleep brings you actually into an unnatural level. This is major studies that have come out, even Wired Magazine's reported. When you play video games for a couple hours, you then go into a oxygen-starved level that you only get in the deepest areas of sleep when you're having sleep apnea, or you've got your face in the pillow and aren't properly breathing. So it puts you into a serious brain damage state. Here it is. TV linked to Alzheimer's. Watching too much television and doing too little physical activity could be linked to Alzheimer's disease, according to U.S. researchers. A study looked at the hobbies of a group of people with Alzheimer's compared to a healthy group. Dr. Robert Fryland said watching TV was the only recreational activity out of those studied that Alzheimer's sufferers were more likely to participate in. And the studies also show when you're watching a lot of television, you're not outside, you're not getting fresh air, you're not getting sunlight. That's connected to dementia and Alzheimer's. In the new London Guardian report out today with a bunch of different scientific studies, insufficient exposure to sunshine resulting in low levels of vitamin D, that's only part of it, plays a role in a wide range of diseases from multiple sclerosis to rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 diabetes, cancers, dementia. Scientists say today, dementia, basically Alzheimer's. All of this is happening, and it's a cocktail. And these social engineers, they don't want you outside, they don't want you exercising. Every study shows it is buoying. It is mind-altering. When I've had family in the hospital or family that's died, and I'm depressed, I'll just go out and hike 5 miles. Boom. I'm still upset, but not depressed. You got to hike. You got to exercise. You've got to kayak. You've got to bicycle. Even if it's 30 minutes, a day, you've got to do it. You've got to get outside. You're designed to live outside. You're designed to love music, good music. It's not a drug. Let's finish with this creepy newscast showing teenagers clearly joking around because there are some quacky websites that go, get our music, it'll increase your brain capacity. I've seen quacky stuff sold where you buy a flashing light on your computer that ups your frequency and can cure things. So yeah, the government can find quacks claiming that colored lights and music is a drug. It's not. But television itself has been weaponized and is overlapping fields of fire with subliminals, flashing lights, semantical deceptions, all of it. But let's finish up with these newscasts. Here it is.
Can lead them other places.
It sounds like this and uses binaural or two-tone technology to alter your brainwaves and mental state. Kelly Johnson is a parent and teacher and had never even heard of iDosing or digital drugs until now.
It's just scary, definitely scary, to know that, just one more thing, one more thing to look out for.
Recently, Mustang Public School sent out a letter warning parents about the new trend after several high school students reported having physiological effects after trying one of these digital downloads. Students and graduates are still talking about it.
All right, that's enough.
I'd heard it was like some weird...
So they take some YouTube videos of people joking. They put an image of Baphomet up on the screen, and they say tones like boop, zoop, boop, or techno music. And again, there's some truth to it. Music, sports, all the studies have shown mass psychology. When you're in a crowd of people, even intellectuals and highly intelligent people who have strong wills can get sucked in to mob psychology. But this is just part of being human. And it's the suggestibility of these youth who've been trained and brought up on television. Remember about a decade ago, Pokemon? There were massive seizures in Japan and the U.S. whenever they would have flashing, strobing lights with the children. But they found in the studies that it was only after hours of television viewing did the children get into a suggestible enough state to then have convulsions. And that was government-designed programming. So basically, the globalists want to be able to do whatever they want to you through music and television and get you into highly suggestible states with the video games and the virtual reality simulator systems. I mean, there is some truth to it, but a very small kernel. And they're only targeting the general public that's out there enjoying music and going, wow, it can change the way I feel. But if you go back to World War II, they found that large percentages of the troops wouldn't kill somebody up close in trench warfare. They found it in World War I as well. So they introduced pop-up targets of bad guys to where people would instinctively shoot the bad guys on the firing range, and they found that it went from around half of people refusing to shoot up close to only about 10%. By Vietnam, with just pop-up targets, only about 10% of troops wouldn't shoot people up close. Today, it's almost 100%. And the Pentagon developed games like Doom, where you simulate killing people, their guts, their blood splattering, and your brain sees that as real. Also, you see violence increasing after the 1950s and crime increasing as the amount of television increased, the amount of viewing, and the amount of people watching more television. Because anybody who's watched a lot of television or movies, you've seen hundreds of thousands of simulated murders and killings. I mean, there's got to be 100 zombie movies that have come out in the last decade. I mean, there's got to be more than 10 a year. And I remember as a youth, I'd watch mild horror movies when I was over at a friend's house and become upset and scared. And after I watched movies like Alien and stuff like that and got scared, now it doesn't scare me because I've become desensitized to it. And so what the government and the corporate media has done is mind control at so many levels, with semantics, how they twist words, the flashing lights, the music, the manipulation. The government coming out after 9/11 and using the fear and the trauma to say we need to torture people, including their children, in front of them. The Washington Post promoted it. Then fiction like 24 promoted it. And now we've been conditioned to accept torture, just like we've been conditioned to accept implantable microchips or face scanning or thumbprinting to buy and sell. And now it's going in everywhere. So it's really just acclimation that's going on. But the fact that they're hyping all of this is ridiculous, and now I've spent much of the hour on this subject, but I think it's been a worthwhile area to discuss. Now let's get into what we should really be concerned about, the forced drugging of water and all these other systems in the food and in the air. This is out of the Register. City receives citation for not fluoridating water. And it goes on. The city of Watsonville has been cited by the California Department of Public Health for failure to comply with an order by the state to fluoridate the water supply. The citation was received by the city Thursday and demands written assurance from the city by August 29th that it will comply and plan and schedule a fluoridation submitted by September 19th. City Council Al Smith said the citation appeared to be out of the clear blue. We've been in communication with the Department of Health, he said. I was surprised, but this is it. Fluoridation has been an issue since the City Council first passed a resolution accepting a grant for fluoride in 2002. Fluoridation 2010 work group offered the city $946,000 to fluoridate because the government cares so much about you. But in November of last year, Watsonville residents concerned about the safety of fluoride passed Measure S, banning all substances from the water not specifically approved by the Food and Drug Administration, which includes fluoride. And you now have the majority of FDA and EPA scientists going to Congress and saying sodium fluoride causes cancer and is deadly and reduces fertility. 1 part per million can cause up to a 20%, on average it's about 15, IQ reduction. People aren't, the U.S. IQ is now the lowest in the world. Not our test scores, not our laziness, not our decadence. We're lazy and decadent for a reason. For 60 years, almost every major city, over 70% of the nation now drinks fluoridated water. It passed that number a few years ago. You are lethargic and dumbed down and can't focus and have reduced fertility, and cancer rates are off the charts for a lot of reasons. But the biggest one is fluoridation of water, fluoridation of food. Most processed foods have it added. They now, for 5 years, have been spraying it on crops as a pesticide. It goes through the cell walls and bioaccumulates in the crops. This is all admitted. We are being dosed with massive amounts of it. The toothpaste. I was driving in this morning. My iPhone camera is fogged up and screwed up. I guess I got to go take it in. I couldn't take a photo of a Sparkletts truck. It had a big pink sign on the back saying fluoride water for babies. It's even worse for babies statistically, the amount of brain damage it causes. And they're cold-bloodedly doing this right out in the open. Yeah, their CDC, community water fluoridation stats, now reaches nearly 70% of U.S. population. And when did that come out? Because the numbers I saw 2 years ago was it had already passed 70%. Okay, this year, so it's just now hitting 70. The report I saw was over 70. But thanks for pulling it up, guys. The issue here is they're racing to get the entire country and entire world fluoridated. I've seen cases where $5 million was spent in a small town in Kansas, if I remember correctly, just to get them to fluoridate over a decade. They spent millions to get San Antonio to fluoridate a few years ago. The citizens knew what was going on down there, okay? And now California comes in and says, we're going to criminally come after your city. We're going to cite you if you don't do this. Since when do they get to forcibly medicate us? And now they say, hey, we want to put statins in the water and we want to put lithium in the water, both toxic.